As a survivor, there aren't many killers I just outright hate playing against. I mean, sure, a few of them are irritating or broken, but I'm not one of these doom queuers who hates 80% of the killer roster and spends most of the match complaining about them but hasn't dropped the game for some reason. In fact, when it comes to the killer roster, there's only a few I outright hate going against, despite killers being boring to face being such a contentious point in every Survivor one-trick community. But if you know me, you know I'm not a huge Survivor player. I dabble here and there with friends or just play some chill matches in solo queue, but I mainly fixate on killers my preferred role. What I'm trying to say is I'm not just a whiny survivor complaining. I hate Blight, not as a survivor in terms of going against him, but as a killer main, because of what he represents. But we can start with a little backstory first. Blight was actually the first killer I ever saw released, due to me starting shortly after the Silent Hill chapter. On launch, he was he fell out of favor for a lot of players due to his numerous bugs, awful collisions, and his POV being like hag level, like in his stomach, which is not what you want from a fast-paced dash killer based on line of sight. But give it a few years of ironing out the flaws and he's completely taken over the game. And a quick note before I really get into it, the Blight gameplay in the background is not mine because I genuinely cannot stand playing this killer. And I won't even for a video, not because I feel so bad for playing such a strong killer, I want the survivors to have fun, self-righteous bullshit. No, it's because he is genuinely so boring to play. Basically because you're essentially playing a PvE game when you pick him. The back and forth with the survivors means absolutely nothing. I mentioned this in my Kaneki video, but people crying about Kaneki's easy first hit while saying Blight is okay is just laughable for a killer who bottlenecks the game so much. But there's a reason why the player base and the developers even have such a hard-on for this killer. It's because he's part of the sort of holy trinity of based killers who can do nothing wrong. Killers who are strong, easy, and have some sort of skill shot to them. The reason why everyone is okay with Blight despite his blatant overpowered state is because everyone plays Blight. He's the most cookie-cutter generic character to main and one of the only killers that Survivor one-tricks will even touch because he's a base dash killer and not the other 90% of the roster. Even looking at Blight in the menu makes me feel like I'm developing a Valorant accent from sheer radiation damage. I'll become one of these brobots who thinks it's impressive to go on a nearly 2,000 win streak on the easiest killer in the game, but more on that later.
Holy spam. Hey Momo, big fan will ask you, maybe factor will you learn your unique vocab and choice to main Blight? So, in the year 2025, if you main Blight, this indicates that you were made in a factory.
Yes.
And wait, did I just say Blight is the easiest killer in the game? But what about Legion, or Wraith, or Nemesis? Aren't they easy too? And Survivor one-tricks complain about these three way more than Blight because they're not base dash killers, right? Isn't everything as it should be? Listen, I know Blight has a higher skill ceiling than some of those. There's a reason why the compies love him so much. But when it comes to sheer power for effort, no one does it like Blight. He's essentially an M1 killer who moves twice as fast because you can just dash forward with no windup and instantly hit a survivor no matter what they do because you have 5 rushes and the turning control is insane. If a Chucky or an Oni is dashing at you, you can duck behind a corner so they can't turn in time, but a Blight can just bump against the wall and just hit you anyways. There's almost no counterplay at all and no one cares. Nerf Chucky though, right? He also easily has the best map traversal power in the game and the second best chase power in the game while having almost no cooldown for missing an attack and being a 115 killer, but Nerf Skull Merchant. He has basically no downsides. Nemesis has a strong chase power but no mobility. Dredge has a shitty chase power and good mobility. But why bother with these other killers when he just does it all? When it comes to Blight, the reason why he hasn't been significantly changed is not the same reason as Nurse, who I also don't really like, but I won't be going into much in this video. Nurse is the way she is for a few reasons. She's there to hardcap how strong a killer can actually be, while also being mechanically harder to play than most killers, even though she's still easy as fuck once you play her for an hour, and being a free killer so the game isn't considered pay to win. Her being mechanically weird leads to her having one of the lowest kill rates in the game because most new players just search DBD best killer and try her out, and they find her power incredibly weird to use. Blight, on the other hand, has literally the highest kill rate in the game at high MMR at nearly 70%. Maybe it's time to do something about that, but actually nah, Freddy has a high kill rate too, we should just nerf him instead. I mean, Blight can't be the problem, look how based he is, he's like dashing and stuff. He also has the highest pick rate as well, but is that a surprise? He's had the highest pick rate along with the Holy Trinity for like the past 5 years. Literally a monkey could 4-cam Blight with no perks, it's so easy.
I decided to run Anonymous with no perks and no add-ons, and that still did nothing. They still gave up. I even played with only my left hand and no keyboard, and the survivors still didn't want to play.
So why isn't he changed? Because he is the most mained and generic killer in the game. Every brobot e-boy wants to show off their sick Blight techs and flicks. And if he was toned down in any significant way, they actually might have to stop one-tricking the easiest character in the game and try out the other 40 killers. Lilith Omen did a random stream like a day ago at the time of me making this, and essentially just got shit on by random pub survivors every single match he tried to play a different killer from Blight. This is what maining such a brain-dead crutch killer does to you. It just makes you far worse at the game when the crutch is finally taken away. Playing Blight doesn't actually teach you how to play killer properly, which is why a 10,000 hour player like him got shit on time after time, even with strong builds when he wasn't on his one trick. Blight players tend to have no personality or soul, and they're just the types of people in general to combat your solid arguments with yapping or rage bait. You know the type of person I mean. I'm talking from experience. And I hear you saying, what do you mean they haven't changed him? They removed his exploits, they nerfed his add-ons, they made his terror radius bigger. These are all just slap on the wrist nerfs that made an already broken and brain-dead character just a little bit less autopilot. If they did something like make him 110 like Spirit, considering his power is just better than Spirit, or remove one of the 5 rush tokens, or make his rushes slower, or just do anything, because the mindset of just play Blight is so ingrained in my brain sometimes that I made it my name on Steam for a while. You try out a fun mid-tier killer and get demolished by a sweat squad? Just play Blight, he plays himself. You played too nice and got 8 hooks but no kills, and now you're getting teabagged at the exit gate? Just play Blight, he can 12 hook every team, and if you lose on him with any build, it's actually just a skill issue. The survivors are comp dropping? Just play Blight. They're pre-running? Just play Blight. They're AFK on gens? Just tunnel with Blight. He has no weaknesses at all, but he probably won't be changed ever because these Valorant slaves who come out of a factory play him and think it's impressive to stomp on babies' heads nearly 2,000 times and yet complain when they lose.
If this was a normal Rusa, these guys would get fucking 4K at 2, bro. They're so shit. 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 They're so shit.
It's really, really unimpressive and untalented. To me, this just isn't right. This is not what DBD should be. There shouldn't be an autopilot killer like this who you can just click on and win every match with no effort because he's so easy and brain dead. But you also get the respect of the survivors for playing a base dash killer. Survivor mains like to call killers like Knight brain dead. Knight, the mid-tier killer who has to strategically cut survivors off and either multitask as an M1 killer or get slowdown using your guard and not even a guaranteed hit. Playing Knight uses 10 times the brain power and macro knowledge it takes to rush at a survivor with no counterplay and let the game play itself. And yes, I hear you say, oh, what about Nurse? I can at least say that Nurse brings something new to the table. As the only killer who moves slower than survivors with such a unique power, matches and chases against her feel completely different to anyone else. Although she does have massive issues, I guess she kinda has to stay to keep the game from being pay to win, but Blight doesn't have to, he can go. Nurse is all about predicting where survivors are gonna go and using your second blink to cut off their double backs. And I'm not speaking from experience here, I also hate playing Nurse, I don't play her either. But Blight is literally just brute force loop or use your broken power to hit them, then just force the pallet drop and zone the survivor before they reach safety. It's so brain dead and yet no one cares. This is the exact same thing people complained about with Koniki, and even Scott Cuck said,
and for this killer, the most common and easy strategy I have found, and I used it, is not super fun. It's actually pretty boring to go against, and the strategy basically involves brute forcing down loops and then just catching up in between the next loop and cutting them off.
But it's fine when Blight does it, who can do it far better because he doesn't have to cancel his power, he can just hit you. And as Survivor, he's in every fucking game because he's so easy and strong. And these slaves who P100 him and one-trick him think it's actually impressive. Koniki got changed to remove a leap token when he breaks a pallet, but Blight doesn't despite doing it way better. Just play Blight. Blight flick tech montages with Fonk and Screen Shake are about as white noise as a Survivor looping montage as a Neo with a flashlight against a fresh installed offer. There's nothing impressive about it at all. But yeah, this is what we want DBD to be, I guess. Blight has literally taken over the entire game since 2021 when he was fixed, and yet we point our sights on Xenomorph, Skull Merchant, and Chucky because they're not based. Blight being as ridiculously overpowered as he is and apparently fine is what makes me question the necessary counterplay built into other killers' powers. If you were constantly awake versus a Freddy with no way to wake up, even with the healing teleport, he's still weaker than Blight. Yes, he'd be incredibly obnoxious and strong, but Blight's better. If Vecna didn't have the treasure chests around that give survivors items to use against him, he would be weaker than Blight. If Xenomorph didn't have the flame turrets and he was in crawler mode the whole match, he would easily be weaker than Blight. If Dredge was in Nightfall the entire match, I still want to say he'd be weaker than Blight. If Nemesis had no vaccines, weaker than Blight. If Trickster or Huntress didn't have to reload at all, weaker than Blight. If Singularity didn't have EMP, well, actually, I can't 100% agree with that one. He might be better than Blight. But still, like, do you get what I'm saying? I really want to hear your argument against this, because if you think I'm lying, you don't know how busted Blight actually is. It just turns the game into PvE. It's genuinely so lame. It's like, what's the point in playing all these fun and interesting killers that I rotate between, when I could just one-trick the most generic and mained one and win every single match and be beloved for not experimenting? And I still win, like, 95% of my matches on killer, but I always bring, like, heavy slowdown and tunnel if I need to. On Blight, you can just do anything. He's literally just like a server admin character. I feel like a lot of the soulless robots who rot on Blight don't even play play him because they like his power or his add-ons or his lore or whatever. They just play him because he's so strong and easy. It was the same thing with Spirit before she got nerfed a long time ago. And please try to argue this one with me that Blight is not the easiest killer in the game due to his strength. I would love to hear it. Pixel Bush actually kind of made a video about this very thing a few months ago. It was about dash killers in general, talking about how unfair the robotic back and forth gameplay is between them and the Survivor. So if you want to hear more balanced talk, then check out that video because it is really good. He talks about how distance is the reward a Survivor should get for playing a loop right. And Blight just shits all over that because if you're out in the open, he will hit you no matter what you do. He will rush you down and left click you with his insane turning control and there is no counterplay. But let's get rid of Kaneki, right? At least if a situation like this with an overpowered character who's generically mained by a player base of dude bros who unironically think it's impressive, if it was more like Widowmaker and Overwatch or Sniper and TF2, where the characters are both insanely game-breaking and have been that way for years, but everybody kind of knows that and hates the character and hates their player base for it, it would be better. The devs go off complaints, not actual strength. In DVD, even the whiny entitled Survivor mains love Blight for some reason. Playing him is just like taking the path of least resistance, and it's not respectable at all to me. And if you're saying, do you think you're better than others because you don't play the brain-dead overplayed zombie killer, my answer is yes. Yes, I do. And I am. Variety is the spice of life, people, but you wouldn't know that because you only play Survivor and the 3 basic bitch killers, while running comp bone and comp keys every match. And let me get real for a moment. If you like Blight and you made him just because you like going fast and his kit is fun, and you can acknowledge that he's clearly overtuned, then I hate you. I'm joking, but not really. I mean, what kind of a killer main would I be if I shunned my fellow killer mains for just doing something they like in a game they paid for? What do I sound like to you, Scott Jund? I'm just saying, for every humble Blight main, you get about 5 compy Blight mains with no soul or personality, running the blue robes and the ice cane on a win streak, with lethal pursuer and 3 slowdowns, licking the ground that Lilith Omen lethal rushes on and pretending it's difficult. Anyways, rant's basically over. All I'm saying is Blight being in the game the way he is represents something awful. Why can't Legion see scratch marks or pools of blood in Frenzy, but Blight exists? How about we give Pig 10 head traps? Believe it or not, she still wouldn't be stronger than Blight, not even close, honestly. We could give Wesker a 3rd bound like in 2v8, he'd be really, really broken and not that fun to play against, but hey, Blight exists, fuck it, right? Like, I just hate the mindset that it entails. I hate him being in the game like this. But what am I? I mean, I'm just salty, right? I mean, you play Blight, you know it better than me. He's not, you know, he's hard. He's really hard to play, man. Why can you lock lockers against Dredge when Blight exists? Why can't Unknown just injure you with his UVX immediately? Like, why? Like, fuck it. Like, just play Blight. 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 Why even bother? Just play Blight. 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 Just play Blight.